I'm Chris Krohn, and this is Talk of the Bay on KSQD 90.7, 89.5, and 89.7, serving the Central Coast communities of Santa Cruz, Watsonville, Capitola, Live Oak, Scotts Valley, and the San Lorenzo Valley, too. And may I also give a shout out to Salinas and Monterey. Well, have we got a show for you today at the 5 o'clock hour. On today's Talk of the Bay, we are going to explore the political life and times of one Hector Marin. Hector is currently engaged in a campaign to save the famous and infamous Catalyst nightclub. But first, we are going to discuss a couple of his past initiatives that he was involved in. One being called the sugar tax, known as Measure Z, and the affordable housing measures B and C that were on the ballot this past November. My guest is one exciting political activista. Hector Marin is currently an educator at Harbor High School and a Santa Cruz community organizer committed to affordability, environmental justice, and preserving local character. He's former city council candidate, a member of the Circle on Anti-Racism and Social Justice. He says he, quote, brings an independent community-first voice to local government. Hector is a UC Santa Cruz alumnus with a bachelor's degree in politics and sociology. Hector, welcome to Talk of the Bay.
Hi, Chris. Thank you so much for having me here. It's really amazing to share space with you, and thank you for your invitation. Really looking forward to our conversation about everything Santa Cruz.
Yeah, before we talk about the current campaign, which I think is pretty exciting that you're working on to save the Catalyst nightclub, let's get into the two recent past ballot initiatives that you worked on. First, there was Measure Z, the sugar tax. It passed in the city of Santa Cruz in November of 2024 with 52% of the vote. And let me see if I have this right. Hector, you worked with big beverage companies led by Pepsi and Dr. Pepper against this measure. Is that correct?
That is not correct, Chris. As a matter of fact, in regards to this specific campaign, I was only the petitioner, which sought to ensure that we rewarded that initiative that was fairer and more transparent for Santa Cruzians, and that was more direct. If you look at the actual ballot initiative language, it states, if you vote yes on this measure, you're voting for a healthier Santa Cruz and you're voting for health programs to be invested, and thereby we are going to be increasing the soda tax by, I believe it was 2 cents per ounce. When in reality, we were trying to litigate, and we were trying to get the city to rewrite that initiative to state, by voting yes on this measure, you're voting to increase the tax by 2 cents per ounce. So that was what that case was mainly about.
So full disclosure, I mean, yes. you were a plaintiff in a case.
Precisely.
Did it make it to court?
Yes, it made it to court, and then there was we had lawyers for sure, and then they were fighting that case, but unfortunately, because of timing, the courts ruled in the favor of the city.
And for full disclosure, I was on a committee with, I believe at the time, Martine Watkins and Sandy Brown when we first brought this initiative to the city council in 2017. It was supposed to be on the 2018 ballot, but it got, I think, hijacked for a bunch of political shenanigans that went on in Sacramento, where then they said this tax couldn't be on the ballot until 2030 something. But I guess people brought it back because of our status as a charter city. And we said, no, we're just going to do this now. And so come after us. Do you know if there's any litigation now as a result of it passing?
Right now, from what I know, is that there is a litigation that is organizing a community of local coalitions of local businesses that are against this soda tax. There are certain businesses that are against it, such as the owner of Jack's. The owner of Jack's communicated to me in the essence that,
Jack's Burgers downtown?
Burgers, yes, downtown.
Santa Cruz original?
Yes, precisely. And she was stating how this is affecting her business, and this is affecting not only revenue for her business, but also her workers, making sure that they have enough hours to provide. There was also the owner of a Mediterranean spot that's in downtown Santa Cruz. I'm blanking on the name of this precise Mediterranean spot, but he was also against, as a business owner, against the Measure C.
Did the tax take effect? Is it in effect right now? They're collecting it?
Yes, it's in effect right now. And even as a service worker, I used to work at Copal as a busser/server there. I saw a huge reduction in my hours right after that soda tax was implemented. I was reduced in terms of hours, and that affects.
And you think as a result of the soda tax?
Oh, 100%.
Copal is a restaurant on the corner of Laurel and Highway 1, which is Mission Street. Wonderful. How would you characterize the food at Copal?
Oh, it's amazing. It's authentic Oaxacan food. I definitely, from Oaxaca. It's very indigenous for sure. I'm a huge fan of their tlayudas. Their tlayudas are amazing.
Wow.
Their moles are cool.
So get me back to the soda tax, Measure Z. Were you paid on that campaign?
No, I was not.
So you were just a witness or a litigant, as you said, as part of the lawsuit against the city to change the wording into what you thought would be a fair summation on what the actual initiative was.
Yes, precisely. And California law doesn't allow one to be paid to be a plaintiff on a civil case, because that's a constitutional, that's illegal by the Constitution.
Were you surprised that the sugar tax passed?
It was a mixed bag for sure. Was I surprised? No, I kind of wasn't surprised, because in the previous election cycles, Santa Cruzians have delved and they have stated their concerns about increases of taxes, but at the same time, the voices of working class people and also of Santa Cruz locals and of Latinos have been very suppressed and marginalized.
So you really don't think that the money's going to be collected and it's actually going to go to dientes or some sort of health initiative on the part of the city channeling this soda tax money, because we do know how destructive sugar is for people's health and teeth and everything else.
Oh, precisely. I believe right now there is a current board that is being assembled in order to oversee these funds, and depending on who is appointed into these boards, that'll determine whether such funds will go as the constituents want this money to be spent. And unfortunately, we have a current city council that represents the status quo. They represent the establishments, the same establishment that has been selling out our city to out-of-town interests for years now. It's more evident now, more so than ever. So I don't trust that this current city council will appoint members that will oversee these funds appropriately, but it is imperative for us to ensure that we reinforce and that we hold the city accountable as to where this taxpayer money is going to, that it goes to actual nonprofits like Dientes, that it goes to actual working class families, to ensure that we create a healthier Santa Cruz for everyone. And that's the job and that's the role and advocacy that I'm definitely willing to do as an activist.
So just one more time, it's correct. You were not paid by Measure Z, that initiative, by any of the beverage money behind the No on Z campaign.
Correct. I was not paid.
Okay, so more recently you worked on a campaign led by realtors, real estate money, big money, to defeat Measure C and replace it with Measure B, their own initiative they would have liked to have seen happen. Measure C won, and Measure B went down to defeat. Measure C was supported by affordable housing nonprofits, for-profit developers, and was a major initiative in Fred Keeley's mayoral campaign. And the initiative itself proposes $96 annual parcel tax plus a graduated tax on property sales over $1.8 million, and would raise about $2.5 million annually for 20 years. Not significant. I was just looking at housing prices today in Santa Cruz, and some of the average right now is $1.7 million, and I think the median is about $1.3 million for a home in Santa Cruz. This would be raising, a couple houses. Although I know there's going to be seed money. They're going to say we're going to bring in other grant money as a result. If city puts up a little bit, then we get a bunch from that. What I want to know is, were you paid by the Measure B campaign?
I was not paid by the Measure B campaign, but I want to take a few steps back in regards to this conversation. Back in June of 2025, I have announced my opposition to Measure C. I opposed Measure C based on the platform that this tax initiative really doesn't help out local Santa Cruzians. Not only does this tax initiative not help out local Santa Cruzians are also taxed, and they are also burdened by the vast amounts of development that's going to occur throughout our city. And our constituents have stated that they are concerned about the local development, the runaway development that the city is getting away with right now. So in listening to their concerns, not only listening to those concerns, but also delving into the policy itself offers a $200,000 limit where the developers, the out-of-town interests, were exempt from paying any taxes when it came to the real estate transfer portion of Measure C. And that is something that I was opposed to. from the get-go. So in June of 2025, I published an op-ed that targeted the critiques of Measure C, not only targeted the critiques of Measure C, but also critiqued the entirety of the establishment and the status quo that the mayor represents with the runaway development, the deterioration of the wharf and putting locals' lives at risk, the increase of taxes, putting development and instilling development in places that are very dangerous for local Santa Cruzians with vast proportions of heights that local Santa Cruzians don't really approve of, that are not even sustainable for our environment. So that op-ed voiced the concerns of Santa Cruzians, and not only that, we oppose Measure C from the get-go based on those concerns and critiques and our lack of trust towards the city council.
So now we're going to fast forward a little bit, or maybe just move forward, saying, then how did you get mixed up? Most progressives or people on the left, I'll say, in Santa Cruz would ask, why did you work with realtors and take their money?
Yep. And now when we fast forward in a little bit, like a few months later, I worked with the Realtors Association in order to ensure that we fought the out-of-town interests that are selling out our city with all these huge, large developments. Us and the Santa Cruz Realtors Association saw eye to eye in that concern of being against the city council in terms of the out-of-town interests selling out our city. We also both saw the importance of there being a path towards home ownership. Whenever I'm in the classroom, I teach my students about home equity and about affordable housing and housing justice. And I will never forget this, but I was talking to one of my students and we were talking about his affordable housing school project that he was stating. And I suggested to him, hey, affordable housing, providing affordable housing, building affordable housing, that's part of your dream, right? Part of your project that you want to instill. And my student looked to me and he said, Mr. Hector, I want to work so hard that I also own a house of my own in Santa Cruz. So us and the Realtors Association both saw eye to eye in that regard. And I was listening to what my students said in terms of wanting there to be equity, wanting there to be a path towards home ownership. Because most migrants, my parents have migrated from Mexico to America to become homeowners, to also have our own place that we can call our own. So we collaborated with the Santa Cruz Realtors Association in order to make that happen. Albeit, us and the Realtors Association never see eye to eye on most policies, such as rent control, such as the empty homes tax.
Which you support both of those initiatives.
Which I've supported. I've walked for those initiatives. I've gathered signatures for housing for the people. I remember coming in as a UCSC student, wanting to be involved in local politics, and you were running for city council at the time along with Drew Glover, and both of y'all inspired me to be on the rent control campaign and to gather signatures also along with other students in UCSC. So time and time again, we have walked the walk in terms of being for those progressive values. And I wanted to let my progressive community know that I am still with those progressive values. I'm still in support of rent control. I'm still in support of housing for the people. I affirm my positions in support of these initiatives. The one thing that we did not want to see Santa Cruzians bear to have any more burdens of local taxing now that the cost of living is increasing ever more. And that's why we oppose Measure C. And we collaborated with them in order to find a mediative balance to work with these people, even though we don't see eye to eye with them, on focusing on an effort to defeat a tax that will tax local Santa Cruzians.
Couple more questions on this. Tough questions, I think. I understand many people in the progressive community in Santa Cruz are not feeling so good about your participation with the realtors. Not so much of you taking the realtors' money, which I understand maybe there was like $5,000. Was that you were paid staff for that?
Yes, I was paid staff for this.
Although some might complain about that, but more about not reporting that you were on the payroll at a Santa Cruz for Bernie campaign endorsement forum event before the election. What can you say now to that criticism?
So first off, the contracts weren't signed till after the endorsement. Wanted to bring that up. Speaking for Santa Cruz for Bernie, that was not part of the contract. I did that off of my own volition of being against Measure C. What was going on and what I saw was that the entire status quo and the establishment were co-opting the name of progressive politics. They were pivoting and they were stating Measure C to be a very progressive initiative when really it gave a huge tax break to out-of-town interests and to out-of-town developers. Most of this money that is going to be generated will go directly to the developers. The Yes on Measure C campaign and Mayor Keeley stated that that would never be the case, that this money would not go to the developers. And the day after they declared victory in their initiative, which narrowly passed 53 to 48, very, very narrowly, Mayor Keeley and the establishment all stated that they are looking forward in having the developers be partners in utilizing these funds.
Or they wouldn't have given the money they gave in the Measure C campaign. The developers donated toward the positive outcome of that. But I still have to go back and say, ask you about taking money from the realtors and, you talk about out-of-town developers. Well, during the rent control campaign, as you might remember, there was a lot of out-of-town realtor money. In fact, $50,000 came from Chicago Realtors Association. A lot of it came from the California Apartment Association, which they really, that's one of their missions, is to stop rent control at anywhere, anytime. So it wasn't just, I would say the Realtors Association locally is not just, good home folks, giving back massages to each other, but actually some of that money comes from outside realtors as well, outside of the Santa Cruz County.
Yes, of course. And I wanted to also affirm to my progressive community that I publicly oppose Measure B. I publicly urge all of my support system and all of my people to vote against Measure B. And that was something that we did because we didn't see eye to eye with the Realtors Association on Measure B. And that's something that they were championing, that they were hoping to pass and to trick the public into passing. And we were telling people, hey, don't vote for Measure B because it is also another trick.
Do you think you were kind of tightrope walking a fine line here between your opposition to Measure B, but also opposition to Measure C, and working with the folks who were trying to defeat Measure C?
Yes, of course. I feel like it was that we were walking a tight line for sure. But I see this as an opportunity to...
Who was we? You or other people?
We as in our movement. We as in our movement.
There's a movement to defeat Measure C?
Yes, correct. But I saw this as or let me particularly use the word I in order to not speak for anybody else. But I believe that this is a testament that I'm willing to work with people even when I don't see eye to eye with them traditionally. In the city council, you have to work with other people that you don't really see eye to eye with. And most of the city council members, all of the city council members there were endorsed by the Santa Cruz Realtors Association. And whenever you're in that council, you have to work with these people if you want to generate a valid solution for the city of Santa Cruz. So I saw this as an opportunity to exercise that part and to build something that is generally supportive of Santa Cruzians. We both didn't want to see Santa Cruzians be taxed, and that's the only reason why we work together. I believe this is a testament that I'm willing to work with the other side in order to move Santa Cruz forward to enhance solutions.
And you don't feel like they were using your status as a young Latino man who has some following amongst young people in this town. You don't think that they were hiring you for that reason, like being, using you?
Yes, I believe they were definitely using me, but to this community, because I love Santa Cruz so much, I would rather be useful than useless.
Mm-hmm. And last question really about this, is there anything you might say to people, detractors who were rightly or wrongly, you did take money, the contract wasn't signed until after the forum. So what might you say to them at this moment, to allay their concerns about Hector Marin being a solid part of the Santa Cruz progressive community? And maybe progressive is something we can talk about because maybe that's not even the right word anymore. But what might you say to those folks?
Yes, I want to affirm to my progressive community that I'm still in solidarity with you guys. Let me take a moment to tell my progressive community that I'm still in solidarity with rent control. I'm still in solidarity with the progressive values that we have. When I ran for city council in 2022, I publicly endorsed both the empty homes tax and our downtown, our future. Despite there being such controversial divisions behind both initiatives, I stood the ground for y'all. In 2024, when Housing for the People came on by, I was there for y'all. I walked with y'all to gather those signatures so we can put that initiative on the ballot to give Santa Cruz a voice. I was there for y'all when no one stood up. In 22 and in 24, I gave Seabright, Lower Ocean, Beach Flats, and Santa Cruz downtown and Upper West Side a progressive voice in which they can trust. And I wanted to affirm to all of my progressive comunidad that I am still with y'all. And to add on to all of that, I would like for folks to consider my actions. Actions speak much more louder than words. What are the positives that I have done for the community? I've hosted community fiestas, community neighborhood block parties for local Latinos in the beach flats. I've hosted community toy drives for local Latinos and for local Santa Cruzians throughout the city. I've also marched against ICE and also got involved with students in order to ensure that we fought against the tyranny that the Trump administration is posing against us, against democracy. I've also went out of my way to coordinate efforts to unite 30 plus progressive organizations together so we can all find common ground, so we can all support
I went to that meeting. That was quite a meeting.
Yes.
This is Chris Krohn, and the show is Talk of the Bay, and this is KSQD 90.7, 89.5, and 89.7, serving the Central Coast communities of Santa Cruz, Watsonville, Salinas, and Prunedale. My guest today is Hector Marin, a local educator. Hector is also a UC Santa Cruz alum with a bachelor's degree in politics and sociology. Hector, I want to turn from those initiatives that you worked on to a little bit of your personal story. You came to Santa Cruz when you were out of high school?
Yes.
And you were 18?
Yes. Well, actually, I was a community college student.
Okay. So
yes.
what community college you go to?
So I went to Moreno Valley College over in Moreno Valley in the Inland Empire. It's a small town near Riverside.
You're from Los Angeles, or whereabouts are you from?
From Riverside County.
You're from
yes,
Riverside.
the Los Angeles area. And I always tell people that there's only two things to do when you're in Riverside. You either go to LA or you go to San Diego. That's it.
But you came to Santa Cruz.
Yes, I came to Santa Cruz.
What got you to come to Santa Cruz? Did you get a 2-year degree at the community college, or no?
Yes. So I went here for university. So I did community college. I was studying computer science at the time because I was thinking, hey, I'm trying to get a job, passed all the calculus courses, but then I switched towards political science because Bernie's campaign was occurring in 2016.
Bernie Sanders running for president.
Yes, Bernie Sanders running for president. That got me more involved in community organizing. I became a member in the youth council in the city of Moreno Valley, and then I transferred out as soon as I graduated MVC, Moreno Valley College, with a political science associate's degree. Transferred into UC Santa Cruz, got involved into activist efforts.
But why Santa Cruz? Did you apply to any other schools?
Yes, I applied to Irvine, and I also applied to Santa Barbara. And
what was your first choice?
My first choice was Santa Cruz.
It was?
Yeah, Santa Cruz because of the nature. I went into the campus, I toured the campus, and just seeing the campus be embedded within the forest, that is something that really captivated my eye, that captivated my spirit too.
You visited here, right?
Oh yes, I visited here. And even then, like seeing the beach, seeing the nice area, seeing the greenery, that's such a 180 from Moreno Valley, because Moreno Valley tends to be a little bit suburbia, but before Moreno Valley, I was in Santa Ana, and that is the barrio. Right, and even within there, you have, it's Latino predominant, but it's very poor. Like the barrios there are very poor in Santa Ana, and so seeing Santa Cruz and seeing the comunidad here and seeing how welcoming it is something that captivated my heart.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I remember, as I look back, I've known you for several years. I remember your dad coming to your graduation. He was driving a Toyota pickup truck, and I asked you, has he been here before? And he said, no, this is his first time that he came to Santa Cruz.
Yes.
How was that relationship, and how were you feeling when he came to your graduation?
Oh, yeah, man. It was amazing. It was very magical to see my dad, Chano, be over here and to be here for supporting for our graduation. And even the first thing that he told me, too, when he was venturing throughout the campus was, this reminds me of Mexico. This reminds me of Michoacan, with the forest and the bosques being on this side, and with the city and the small town being on this side. He really loved the city.
What did you feel like when you saw your dad here? Like, here's the, if fish out of water or something, you see, you've lived here now for a couple of years, and all of a sudden your dad comes. He never came to visit you before, but now he comes for your graduation, which is a big deal. How are you feeling?
Oh yeah, man, I'm feeling good on the inside. I'm feeling low key wanting to cry. I'm all like trying to fight these tears, but it was a beautiful moment to experience that with my father, because my father never got the opportunity to actually go to college, to actually even have a high school or even a middle school education. He had to work straight up to provide for for his mother in Mexico. And in Mexico, my father lived in such poverty that even having warm and hot showers, that was a privilege that he considered. And even being in Mexico, providing for my abuelita, he had to work so hard in order to provide for his family then. And then seeing one of his sons become a first generation college graduate, that's something that made his day, and it made my family's day too. Even seeing my mother cry tears of joy in terms of us walking to graduate, that was something that was amazing, and in Mexico, you don't get these opportunities of education. And I feel like us in America, even being born in the United States, even being Chicano, we kind of take that education for granted. They never had those opportunities because they were living in poverty. They provided those opportunities for us. And it is our job to go out of our way to educate. And that's what inspired me to continue education to this day. Like even right now, I'm in Harbor High School working with SDC students and with English language development students. And these are the same students who have the same background as my father, as me as well, and providing them that assistance in teaching them English, teaching them the culture of America, and teaching them how to be American citizens, and teaching them about the history of America. It's something that's beautiful to see, because that's where you can really affect the most change, through education, through those schools.
Thank you, Hector Marin. This is Chris Krohn for Talk of the Bay. We are going to be back right after. This is 90.7 ksqd.org. You can get us online, or you can listen to us the old-fashioned way on the radio. We're gonna pause here for a moment. We're going to come right back with our guest, Hector Marin. We'll be back in a Santa Cruz second. Welcome back. This is Talk of the Bay. I'm your host, Chris Krohn, and my guest today is UC Santa Cruz alum, current educator, former political candidate, activist locally, Hector Marin. Marin. And what does your last name mean, Hector?
Marin means of the sea.
Of the sea.
Of the sea.
I was going to guess that, but I didn't, and I guess that's what the county, Marin County, is also like a seaside county. Is that maybe why it's called?
Oh, yes,
Marin?
Precisely. It means of the sea.
Yeah, right there. So I want to get to something that I'm pretty excited about. You are now involved in a campaign to preserve a cultural icon, really, in this community. The Catalyst has been revered and it's been rowdy, but very respected music venue since the 1970s. Over the years, the Catalyst nightclub has hosted countless local bands and several big names like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Green Day, Neil Young. I've seen several of them there at the Catalyst. According to the news website, Santa Cruz Local, the Catalyst nightclub in downtown Santa Cruz could be demolished and relocated to the bottom floor of a 7-story building with 64 condominiums. This is contained in a project pre-application that can be viewed on the Santa Cruz City Planning Department's website. The pre-application, according to Santa Cruz Local, was submitted to the city on November 5th of last year. Hector Marin, give us an update. What's going on with the Catalyst project, and what's your participation in that, and what are you hoping to see as an outcome?
Yeah, of course. So right now we have organized the committee to save the Catalyst. So we have a lot of local artists, local community members involved, local educators, local teachers, and even local business owners who are trying to save the Catalyst. We have conducted several meetings with particular city council members to talk to them about this effort, and we are getting very good feedback from them. They're in solidarity with us in the essence of making the Catalyst into a historical preservation landmark. There's a lot of solidarity regarding this. They also want to see that happen. Their main concerns is the owner, seeing how the owner himself or herself or themselves, how they feel about this. And the one thing about this is we totally get that. But also we have gathered 10,700 signatures and still counting. 500 signatures per day. We're still gathering signatures in terms of folks saying that they want to see the Catalyst be preserved into a historical preservation landmark. And we had a meeting with the developers. We were calling on board everybody to get together so that we can all have all hands on deck to voice their concerns. And Chris, this was the first time where a community meeting regarding a development with the developer directly. This was the first time where 100% of all comments were stating we oppose the demolition of the catalyst.
No, nobody was there saying, yeah, get rid of the catalyst, man.
Not at all. Or there was no one that said, hey, we need all the housing that we can get.
And you're saying there was over
project.
200 participants at this Zoom meeting. That's a meeting they have to have. Yeah, they have to have one meeting, developers, when they're doing a project like this.
Yeah, and it's via Zoom too, so it's very impersonal. And if the developer wants to silence certain concerns, they can definitely do that. And I will never forget this, but I directly did a comment and I directly asked the developer, yes or no, will the demolition of the catalyst be required in order for you to build your building? Yes or no? And the developer themselves were at a loss of words. They couldn't even answer that question appropriately.
Why? Why do you think?
Because it does.
Because he didn't want to say yes. Yeah,
precisely. He didn't want to say yes because in their eye, what they're trying to tell the public, they're trying to tell the people, hey, we are saving the catalyst. We're just going to build it below here, but technically we're saving the catalyst. So we are doing what the community is stating, but the community is also stating we are opposing the demolition of 1011 Pacific. We are opposing the catalyst from being demolished, period. And that's the one concern that constituents have.
According to the website Santa Cruz Local, the new building would replace the catalyst's existing building. So Santa Cruz Local will give you a straight up answer, and they would like to wrap around the old school shoes store at the corner of Pacific and Cathcart Street. These properties are, if you get your Google Maps out, it's 1009 and 1011 and 1015 Pacific Avenue, and those properties were listed for sale earlier this year for $4.5 million. What other businesses are you looking at? I know there was a spa, there's old school shoes. What other businesses are affected?
Yeah, of course, the Tea House Spa is definitely affected. So when we're saying save the catalyst, we're also saying save the Tea House Spa. And this is a prominent organization that is being displaced as a result of the catalyst being demolished. And the city and the developers themselves weren't being as communicated to the owner. And the owner is also in solidarity with our efforts to save the catalyst and we also want to amplify her voice because her business, Alyssa's business in the Tea House Spa, will be affected. And the Tea House Spa is a very prominent organization and a very prominent business that provides local Santa Cruzians with relaxation, with the spa experience of just being the experience of tea also. So when we were saying
sometimes stereotypes are real.
Oh, yes.
Massage, spa, tea.
Oh, yes. That's always a lot for sure. But when we're saying save the catalyst, we're also saying save the tea house and spa. And when we're saying save the tea house and spa, we're saying save the local businesses in Santa Cruz. And when we're saying that, we're saying save Santa Cruz. And that's what our focus is about in the next few years.
What about old school shoes? Do they weigh in on this at all?
Old school shoes, we haven't heard from them yet, but I would imagine them to be in solidarity with us too.
What about the music store?
The music store, yes. We have workers within the Starving Musician that have stated that they are in support of saving the catalyst. We are also in communications with, the owner of the Neighbors Pub. She was concerned about the catalyst being demolished because that may mean that her business might go out also. And this is a prominent business that is a safe space for LGBTQIA plus communities.
What about that beautiful mural that celebrates a old Santa Cruz legend? I used to play basketball with him. I don't know if you're familiar with that mural that on the side of the music place.
Oh, yes. Music. Oh, yeah, 100%. And that's what provides cultura for Santa Cruz. We don't want the culture of Santa Cruz to be eradicated at all whatsoever. And even I have Harbor High students and even high school students and even UCSC and Cabrillo students that tell me, hey, the catalyst has served a good bridge in terms of initiating the people to be further integrated with downtown Santa Cruz. And that's where our focus is at right now. When we want to save, when we're saying save the catalyst, we're saying save the culture that makes Santa Cruz, preserve the local unique character of our city that we all love. There's a reason why we are here, and it's because of this. And that's what we were focused on.
And I noticed that the Good Times was stirring the pot a little bit, the way they stir pots of political pots in Santa Cruz. They were talking about, they interviewed supervisor, 3rd District Supervisor Justin Cummings, and his words were quite I thought direct, and he is into saving that cultural icon, the Catalyst nightclub. And I don't know if you've communicated with him or he's said anything about what he's willing to do to make that happen, to save that building and that site.
Yeah, of course, we have received support from County Supervisor Justin Cummings, because this is a venue that he also loves, and he also acknowledges the cultural importance that music brings into our city. So he is supportive of those efforts. We haven't collaborated with him yet in terms of having a committee meeting with him, but he is definitely in solidarity with our
county
efforts.
Government. What do they have over the catalyst? They can only negotiate, I guess, with the local city government. The city council in Santa Cruz has a say on what can be developed there and how it can be developed, and whether you could make that a historic building, a historic site.
Yes.
Like we did with the Del Mar Theater that's on the other side of Pacific Avenue. That was embraced by first Sandy Leiden, a historian, and Jeff Dunn, another historian, and city council members. We took it to what was then the redevelopment agency, went through this process. We met a lot of opposition from city staff, but we finally got it through. And today, movie theaters have gone down in people attending movies, but that site is still there in the way it was when it was first built. So a lot of the things are preserved in that theater.
Yes, precisely. And that's why we want to make sure that we preserve the catalyst. Many people don't know this, but when the landmark Del Mar Theater was under the threat of being demolished, Santa Cruzians got together, in the city council, including your office, supported the efforts to make the landmark Del Mar Theater to be saved and to make it into an area that is also city run, where the city stepped in and also got a third management company to run that entire.
What do you say? Oh, Hector, that's just an old bowling alley. That's not something to be saved.
Well, 10,700 people and still counting disagree with that statement.
And if people want to continue to sign that petition, where do they go? How do they get to that site?
They can go on change.org, Save the Catalyst petition, so they can go right there in order to sign that petition. But also, if folks want to get involved with the Save the Catalyst efforts, they can also email us, savethecatalyst@gmail.com. They can also reach out to our social medias at Save the Catalyst and our Facebook group. If they just search that up, they can join in and we'll accept them, and we can involve people within there. And I want to let folks know that most importantly, yes, it's about saving the catalyst, but we are hoping that the Saving the Catalyst initiative can be an effort where it is a catalyst to also further involve people within the local political process and to further save Santa Cruz. That's my focus from here on out. My focus right now is on District 4, is on our city, and seeing how we can preserve our local unique Santa Cruz spots and our local unique culture so that we can make a thriving, welcoming city for everybody.
SaveTheCatalyst.com. And again, folks, this is yet another outside developer. In this case, it's called Mountain View-based developer GHS Ventures. And they're coming and, in my opinion, burning down another historic venue and churning out luxury apartments, condominiums in this case, I guess, for folks who likely do not even live yet in Santa Cruz. Hector, talk a little bit about how you see the development going downtown. The circles we all live in circles, and we all live in bubbles. I don't think some bubbles are bigger than others, but the bubbles that I inhabit, people are not particularly happy with the development of housing downtown. Even when we get 10 or 11% affordable, that means 90 or 89% of those units are going to be unaffordable. Especially, I look at that thing called River Row and some of the prices over there, $7,500 for a 2-bedroom townhouse, and $5,500 for just a regular 2-bedroom, which you don't have 2 levels, I guess. $3,300 for a studio apartment. Who are these places for? Who are these apartments for, and how are they chipping away? Talk about our social culture, our ethnic culture, our cultural heritage. What's happening?
Yeah, right now with what we're seeing is that our city's being sold off to its highest bidder. And most importantly, it's being sold off to out-of-town interests. And I believe Santa Cruzians right now haven't realized that when they voted for the people that they voted in 2022 and in 2020 and prior election cycles and in 2024. So with the current River Row apartments, you have certain landlords, you have the Owen Lawlers who are profiting from these apartments, and they are starting at $7,200 and $7,400 because they themselves want to reap those profits. And it's not not only these local interests, they're collaborating with these out-of-town interests to create an exclusive Santa Cruz.
Oh, and the fixer.
Yes.
He fixes these things between developers and the economic development department.
Precisely. And then there's that partnership that goes on that doesn't serve the people. And most of these departments is supposed to serve the people.
If you were on the city council, how would you direct the city manager to implement a work plan for the economic development department? What would be included in that work plan from a Hector Marin perspective?
Yes, of course. We would have local reinforceable priorities for local Santa Cruzians to be housed within these properties. There would be that prioritization for Santa Cruz locals to be housed, most importantly.
Jillian Greenside has that interest too. She's a local activist, and I know she brought forward an initiative to house locals because she was serving on the grand jury and saw that, there was a way to get local preference in housing of people in these affordable units.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I applaud Jillian in doing those efforts. What's most important is that the city council right now, they've only passed a resolution, but they didn't really follow up with anything outside of that in terms of workforce requirements. And we also must ensure that we also have and that we provide project labor agreements with all of these developments. We must ensure that we also create local union jobs, and that local union jobs also construct these developments at a very reasonable and responsible rate, at a community first, through a community first perspective, where we make these projects much more sustainable, capping them at 4 to 6 stories. I think that's something that's very doable. Right now, with all these developments, they're going to 8+ stories, and you have all these developers that are taking advantage of the state density bonus law.
How about some articulation in those buildings? You have this flat building. I mean, go again and stand in front of the Catalyst and look across the street. You have this really Santa Cruz style Wall Street going on. Mm-hmm. And it is, you want to save the Catalyst because you want to have a little bit of diversity of buildings on Pacific Avenue. If this thing goes through, you're going to have a wind tunnel, it seems to me.
Oh, yeah, precisely. And most importantly, when it comes to the sales revenue of the city, you will have a huge sales revenue be lost if you lose the Catalyst. And this will really impede the business of local businesses and the profits that they generate also. And that's the one thing that I feel like the city really hasn't thought through. How will removing the Catalyst impact local businesses surrounding that? It'll impact them because there will be a loss of revenue for the city and for these local businesses. Going back to your question about the housing solutions of what to implement, making sure that these developers provide 20% full stop inclusionary housing. That's something that should be reinforceable and that the city can reinforce and can pass on to through by adding more zoning ordinances that require that 20% to be provided full stop. You can also go into these developments and you can also assert and form a boundary with them. There are certain developments that cross the threshold, and 1011 Pacific, the Catalyst, the GHS Ventures project, that crosses a boundary because we're going to be losing a huge staple of Santa Cruz when we lose the Catalyst. So when people say, hey, what's your solution? GHS Ventures and the owner themselves, they want to sell the Catalyst off, and how are you going to stop this?
And they're not part of this history that, they haven't been here in Santa Cruz to see what that's like and to have experienced it. They might have went to a show at some point, but the company is not local.
Precisely. They haven't been here. And that's the thing. We want these organizations and these developers to be good neighbors. And the Santa Cruz City Council does have the power to form that boundary and to say, hey, we oppose this project. They can still meet their arena housing goals without this project. And if they tell the developer, hey, we're going to oppose this project, but we want to work with you so you can develop in other areas that are more viable within the South of Laurel plan, then they can work with the developer in order to ensure that they build some housing in the city of Santa Cruz if need be.
We're winding down our time here. Give me your strongest argument, Hector Marin, on why the Catalyst should be preserved as it is and not give way to a 7-story building.
We must ensure that we protect Santa Cruz. And we are here because we love the music. We love the community here. So we must ensure that we preserve the catalyst and that we save the catalyst, because that is a vital effort in terms of us coming together and joining together and dancing together, being in community so we can dance, lift our spirits up through music, lift our spirits up through community. And that's why we must ensure that we save the catalyst and that we also save all the local businesses along with saving Santa Cruz.
I think we're going to have to leave it there, Hector Marin. You've been very kind with your time. Thank you. And this is Chris Krohn for KSQD 90.7, 89.5, and 89.7 FM. This has been Talk of the Bay, and we will see you next week. Good night and good luck, Santa Cruz.